This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. I've got a treat from the underground to share with you. It's a chat with Lucas Anderson, who is the drummer and vocalist in New York's Funeral Leech. Now, the catalyst for our chat is due to the launch of a new album from the group. It is titled The Illusion of Time. It's their first in 4 years. Their first since the rather good Death Meditation, an album that I like. That's what inspired me to reach out and ask if Lucas was available for a chat. So, of course, he talks all about the album and their growth since the last one, but there's a bunch of other things too, such as what got him into drumming and what serves him in general, being an appreciator and someone who is well and truly engaged in the world of music. It's a good one. All right, if you've tuned in via the podcast apps, I do have a tune to share with you. It's from the album. It's called Ceaseless Wheel of Becoming, and once it's done, we'll dive into the chat. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going?
Lucas, right on time. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. Thanks for agreeing to have a chat. I've been enjoying the band now for a number of years, I must say.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Liz and David sent across the previous release, Death Meditation, I think it was. Am I right in saying? Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember doing a micro review, and one of the things that I liked about it was that it was a bit of a blend of all of the music that's going on in the underground at the moment, being those doomy black and death elements, but it's also got just a hint of rock and roll in there as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Rightio. Okay. So the journey from Death Meditation to the Illusion of Time, can you share how your approach has shifted during that period?
Yeah, I think honestly, all of us have improved as musicians.
Good.
And we gave ourselves a lot more time to like prepare ourselves for recording with this one.
Mm-hmm.
With Death Meditation, there was at least one song that we finished at the recording studio in writing.
No.
Yeah, we were on a little bit of a deadline with the date we had set for recording with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And with The Illusion of Time, we didn't book recording time until we finished writing an album. So I think we were more focused this time around. We really spent a long time trying to figure out what we liked and what we didn't want, and like cutting out everything we didn't need from an
Mhm.
album. So yeah, we had to add a little bit of stuff we wanted to add, like from last time. Like I wanted to do a lot of more synthesizers and keys,
Yes, absolutely.
which we got to
I
do
heard
on
that.
this record.
Yeah. That's the big change. I think is the addition of the synths and more mournful passages, a bit longer, a bit more mournful. Certainly upon the couple of listens that I've had. So, what was the inspiration behind that, though? Is that just natural growth or something else?
I would say it's a little bit of natural growth, and it's a little bit of my tastes coming through. I like Asunder is one of my favorite bands. Mournful Congregation.
Yep.
We took a lot of inspiration from them, and Evoken as well, especially with like the really like longer passages with keys. Like that's a lot of Evoken in there. And we really we were a death metal band with some doomier parts, but we really leaned into the doomy aspect on this album, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it a lot. What about the lyrical themes? Okay, I've never dived in. I purposely didn't want to dive into the lyrical themes beforehand because I wanted to ask you. So was there anything you addressed this time around?
This one, yeah, it kind of follows up on a lot of the stuff that I, kind of spoke on in Death Meditation. But it's a lot more focused on time and the finiteness of it.
Yeah.
And how, a lot of people think that there's, time is an infinite source when it's really just like ticking away, and it could end at any second for someone and yet continue at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more about the finiteness of life.
Yeah. And I read in the bio as well that guilt, grief, and loss were also things that you're resonating on there. Is that just broadly speaking, you're focusing on all humanity, or is it more personal?
There's a lot of personal experiences that shine through on this album. I think, all of us between, Death Meditation came out right at, right when the world kind of closed down. And this is kind of, so we've gone through a lot since then. A lot of us have had a lot of hardships since then. I think most people in the world honestly have. But yeah, so it's a lot of personal experiences with a lot of, bad things that happened since then.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But at least you've got something to channel them into, and that's creating this music.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I suppose, are drinking their school, or drinking to the end of the bloody vodka bottle or the beer bottle, whatever it might be, and not having an outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone should write a Death Doom record instead of writing to the bottle. We'd have a lot more good music, maybe.
I truly believe that. I believe that if people gave themselves an opportunity, well, it's not just about music though. It's expression.
No, yeah, of
like
course.
poetry
Yeah.
or what have you. If they gave themselves, I was on a retreat on the weekend and I was listening to a bloke who told me he's a druid, and he's been through all sorts of stuff. And he was speaking in what sounded like Gaelic. I didn't ask him, but it sounded like. But this is just a bloke who's decided to go down to discover what being a druid is all about. It resonated, and from that he's learnt what I assume is Gaelic, certainly enough to talk on for at least 5 minutes, 5 to 6, 7 or 8 minutes or what have you, end to end. And I thought, isn't that great? It's the expressive qualities that we as human beings are born with. They just need an outlet. And
it's like if you have an outlet, it's so incredible. It's such a like helpful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What about the recording process, production? Was there anything you wanted to focus on this time around that you didn't on Death Meditation?
Yeah. No, buddy. Sorry, my cat's just.
All good. I got my cat. My feet too.
Yeah. I was really happy. We focused a lot on the drums this time around and like the drum sound. Like we got a really, really good drum sound out of it. I brought like 3 different snare drums and we spent like maybe a half an hour trying to figure out which one sounded best. The room that we recorded in was a much larger room than the last one we recorded in. So it was kind of nice to get a lot of sounds out that way. And there was a few things like we wanted to be a little experimental, and the girl recording us, Sasha, she had some great ideas, like or we would just like kind of throw ideas off of her and she'd be like, yeah, let's fucking try it. And yeah, I don't know, it was like fun to just kind of be a little more experimental, and like we had even more time to record this. Like we took a full week to record instead of like chopping it up into like 3 or 4 days for the last record.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. What about the mixing process? Were there any particular sounds? Obviously, you worked on the drum sound during recording, but were you looking to bring forth more of the rich palette which aspect of the rich palette of sounds you've already got were you looking to highlight more?
I definitely, for a frame of reference, because Dan Lowndes, I might have mispronounced his last name, from he's in Crucimentum. He mixed and mastered our record. And for like a frame of reference for my drum sound, I think I pointed out the Crips album, and I pointed out one of the Crips records, and I pointed out Asunder as the Clarion Call, because the drums just sound humongous in those, and I really wanted that massive, because I have a very large drum set, so I wanted it to really echo out in on the record, and we definitely nailed that, I think.
Yeah. Who were your inspirations in terms of your drumming when you first started out?
When I first started drumming, or first started with Funeral Leech?
Let's start with first started out. Who was it? Typical, was it the Clyde Burr thing or something else?
Well, when I started playing drums when I was 12, and I think back then it was just the Ramones. I wanted to play that as fast and as just like tight as possible. And yeah, the Ramones were my huge influence back then. And then I started branching out a little more. Dino from Asunder and Dystopia have always been like a huge inspiration for me as far as drumming goes. He sings and plays drums like I do. And, he plays a lot of different styles, which I kind of try to channel. Like he plays, Dystopia has their super fast moments and their super slow moments. And Asunder is just like unrelentingly slow. And also Chris from Autopsy, another singing drummer. Like those are 2 huge inspirations for me.
Have you met Mike Browning before?
Mark Browning? I'm not sure.
Mike Browning from Morbid Angel and Nocturnus.
Oh, I have not. No.
Yeah, good fella. I think you'd like him.
Yes.
Yeah, they're coming out again. Thank God they've got another release coming out. I can't believe it. I think it's on E-Rate though, which is just crazy.
Nocturnus, right?
Yeah.
I saw they just announced that album. Yeah.
Yeah, called Nocturnus AD these days. I think Liz actually sent it through. I think she's the one who sent it through, like in terms of the press is saying it's coming out. So I couldn't believe that when I saw that. I thought, fucking hell, he's going back to Digby, so at Earache. So we'll see what works out with that one there. But
also, too, Eric's kind of not doing so great these days.
Oh, well, okay. So they tried the rock and roll thing. So now they're going back to what their real music thing is. And look, the rock and roll thing gets a few hits and clicks, but I don't think it converts into the sort of money that maybe they were hoping.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move to move back to the death metal and the old school, like Eric style.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Just on the drumming thing again, Cozy Powell, where do you think he rates in the pantheon of all-time greats?
One more time.
Oh, sorry, my accent probably. Cozy Powell.
Yeah.
From Black Sabbath and Invo and minivans, Brian May's solo outfits.
Which era of Sabbath is he? I'm so terrible with this. I'm always thinking of Geezer.
He's he did the 1988 to about 1996 or thereabouts when the reunion happened. So Tear, Headless Cross, those albums there, and
Headless Cross is fucking great. I'm sure he's up there on the greats. He might not be on my personal list, but he's definitely like, it's undeniable.
Yeah, I just, you triggered me in a very good way with regards to the big drum kit. I love the idea of it, and he had one of the biggest ones out there.
Yeah, I have an old Tama from the 80s, like Art Star. It's similar. It's similar to what like Dave Grohl used in Nirvana, just like these giant toms. Like the toms are just about the size of floor toms.
Whack them, it's
yeah. And I tune them real low for this band, and it just sounds really, really heavy, and it's like what I'm going for.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. I've got to say, there's an element as doomy and dirgy as your music might be. There's actually an element of optimism in there. Is that? Do you pick up on that as well?
Musically, sure. I think maybe in a little bit of my lyrics, it's possible. Like as shitty as stuff can be, there is a possibility it'll get better. So sure, there might be a little bit of optimism in there.
The reason I'm saying that is I listen to your music, and when it finishes, I was just listening to you before we came on, and I thought, fuck, I feel pretty good, and that's not just all about me having a positive state of mind, which I believe I do. It's also about the way the music, and if I listen to Kylie Minogue or any of the bullshit, it makes me feel terrible. But listening to Funeral Doom and acts like you guys, well, you specifically in this instance, I just remember thinking, oh shit, this has actually got me a bit motivated now. So probably feedback you'll never get, but I needed to give it to you.
I think I appreciate it. I do feel like, we have some like moments that feel very powerful in that aspect. I guess that can be, that can come off as optimistic. Like I'm thinking of mostly one of my favorite songs we play live still is Morbid Transcendence from Death Meditation. And the whole last half of that song just builds up to this like almost like epic like ending, epic finale, and that feels very positive to me.
Yeah. What non-metal bands do you listen to?
Oh, I'm a ton. I grew up with a lot of like listening to a lot of like punk and like a lot of like the New York not really punk, not really new wave stuff, like Television and stuff like that. Like I listen mostly now. It's like I listen to a ton of Death and Doom, but a lot of times I listen to the Ramones probably almost at least once a day. They're probably one of my favorite bands. Same with the Smiths and Morrissey, one of my favorites of all time.
Beautiful.
And yeah, Television. I listen to a ton of like old school New York hip hop, like Mobb Deep and Big Pun and stuff like that. I could go on. I have like a ton of like obscure Japanese hardcore bands I love, and like I do love like a lot. Still, it's yeah. I mean, I don't know if you could see behind me, but
it's wonderful to look at. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, yeah, that's a great legacy you've got behind you there. I mean, you're clearly a collector and an aficionado, and I believe that's very important with music to have people that are fully invested the way you are, especially a musician.
Yeah, I think everyone in Funeral Leech is a music nerd in their own way, and it all kind of comes out in our tastes.
I do like music from New York. There's just something about it, and one of my favorites is Alan Vega and Suicide. Was that ever on your playlist?
Yeah, my dad went and saw like Suicide's first show.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that first Suicide record it's crazy to listen to. It still kind of baffles me like how they were as a band, but I love it.
Dream Baby Dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like New York always there could be two bands that almost sound nearly identical, but if one of them is from New York, they have this for lack of a better word, swagger to them. There's just like there's a difference in growing up here and like living here, and you know, I love the legacy we have. I love like all the great New York hardcore bands like Agnostic Front, Madball, Cro-Mags, Breakdown, like all that stuff like that. I grew up listening to that stuff, and it still like rings true to me. And yeah, it's just like New York has such a rich history of music, unlike anywhere in the world.
Yeah, great. Yeah, certainly in terms of its enduring legacy from when ragtime became jazz. I believe I'm correct in saying that ragtime became jazz in New York the way we understand it these days. I know.
I believe so. Yeah.
I know it came from the South as ragtime, and I think Mac McGeehan, he's a trumpet player. I just, Liz again sent something across this morning, and he's done stuff for Phil Collins, and all sorts of people. Mark McGeehan and the Hispanic Mechanics, I think he calls his group at the moment, and trumpet player with all sorts of stuff. But I'm confident he's from New York just with the way he sounds. But I agree with you. And one of my favorite interview subjects ever is John Joseph.
That's a true New York character.
Yeah, very strong-willed man, no doubt about that. And you have a conversation with him, he's got to strap yourself in and he'll go where it goes.
Yeah, I grew up down the street from the Krishna temple he went to, and sometimes I would be sitting on my stoop reading a book, and he would just stop by, and you know, once you kind of see him in public, you already know that you're about to be there for like a while listening to stories.
Yeah. Magnificent.
I like strap yourself in for like 30 minutes and just kind of put your listening glasses on.
Yeah. Did you ever visit the Krishna temple?
I actually went once, but it's never really been a thing for me personally.
Yeah, it is for me. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you grew up down the road from where he was. Yeah, I do the mantra. I do the mantra frequently to the point where it's in the back of my mind playing, going along quite often. It's a thing that I use as you do use it, you bring God into your life through this mantra, and it's a centering force, if you like.
Right.
All of this shit that's going on around us, it just reminds us that God is there, and he's a living God is there. But conversation for another time maybe. But yeah, it's Krishna consciousness is certainly something that I've seen it through John, and I suppose Harley to a lesser extent as well. But
yeah.
And you talk.
It was always around in New York. I think it originated in New York. Yes,
spot on. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. There's a tree in Tompkins Square Park. Yes, I hear you. Sorry. There's a tree in Tompkins. I could be way off because I'm not an expert on this field, but there's a tree in Tompkins Square Park that was called the Krishna tree, and from what I've been told, it's where originally they all met and like started there.
Yeah,
I could be completely off with that. Once again, it's not my wheelhouse.
You're probably, if not on point, near to the point. It's certainly, as Krishna consciousness is at the moment, of course, it comes from Hinduism, but the way we understand it and it's spread, it's a New York artifact in many ways. It came from New York, and it might not have happened if it wasn't for New York. So there you go.
There is a little bit of ideas from like Hinduism and Buddhism on the illusion of time, but it's more as a spectator's kind of viewpoint. My father was into a lot of that stuff, so I got some of those ideas and stuff from him. But I always also like I always appreciated bands that had those that kind of imagery with them, like the Chromags records have a lot of that imagery. That band 108, great band. They have it's just in their name.
Yeah.
It's in their name, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always appreciated that stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, it was really. I grew up Irish, a Catholic, but heritage being Irish, I suppose it's through that Irish lens. But for you personally, did you grow up heavily invested in religion, like having to go to church every Sunday?
No, religion was never really a part of my life. Excuse me. It was never really a part of my life. It was more like something I was spectating in other people's lives and saw.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. With regards to imagery and the kind of graphics that you're using with the band. Now, a big thing at the moment, as you've seen, I'm fairly confident I'm saying this, not that this has been confirmed by Deicide, but their new album is AI, as a graphic which is AI generated. I couldn't imagine you guys.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine you guys would go down that route.
No, never. We've been working with the same artist since Death Meditation, Karmazid, and he's who I would always want to work with him in some way, shape, or form. He has this way of I present him with an idea, and he has this way of presenting it back to me almost in the way that I imagined it with his style. But he also throws his own style into it. He always blows me away with anything he does. And other than that, we've done a few other designs that either I have designed or I think right now it's just like either Karmazid or me doing our art.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have to send much merch to Australia?
I have done it once or twice. I'm waiting for more orders. We're probably, once we finish up with our record release and stuff like that, we're gonna open up our web store with more of that whole merch, because we just did a very big order for the next few events we're doing.
We could, yeah. Has it ever been put to you to visit Australia to tour?
I would love to. It's never been presented to us, but it's not something that it's not something we wouldn't do. We would love to. There's a lot of great bands out there. Mournful Congregation, Faceless Burial, Grave Upheaval, I think is from there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Faceless Burial. I caught them for the first time the other day with a band whose name escapes me, but they're from your part of the world, and holy shit, I couldn't believe that guitarist, what he was doing was.
Yeah, those records are incredible. They blew my mind the first time I heard them. They're pros at what they're doing.
Yeah, it's one of the few times I've been legitimately stopped in my tracks, and your band comes on and you always pay the respect of listening, but sometimes I don't drink, so I go outside and look at the news or the phone and still hear them or what have you. But this band, I was standing in front of the guitarist because there was a bit more than a handful of us there, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was like Chuck Schuldiner Mark II, but through that doomy death lens that they've got.
Yeah.
And amazing fucking stuff. And he's from Melbourne.
I love it.
So I was like, shit. Okay, we're certainly getting somewhere in Australia these days on the extreme metal front. Yeah. What about in terms of? I realise, so you've got this great new album coming out. It's fantastic stuff.
Sure.
Old fans will love it, but I think this is an album that will certainly grow your audience, give you a bigger platform, if you like.
I hope so. I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah. But as you continue to evolve, do you have any ideas about, even at this stage, what the next step looks like?
I mean, I'm always writing lyrics. I think we want to keep a decent motion. I don't think we're going to be one of those bands that puts out an album every year. We all work like crazy. Like, all of us work full time. And it's kind of a miracle that we found a time to meet up every week to practice and play together. But we definitely want don't want another 4 years to go in between albums. So we're gonna continue to, when we can, work on new stuff. We have a few shows planned, but right now that's all it looks like is we're gonna continue grinding out and playing when we can.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Mate, it's been great to chat. Is there any other topics or areas of subject matter that you want to explore or talk about?
Not off the top of my head. If there's anything you can, I'm happy to answer.
Oh, I think my final comment would be that all that's left to do is for people to check out the music and to have a listen to you. I'd certainly encourage anybody to pick you up on cassette, or I think you got cassettes out there if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah, I actually just got the cassettes of Illusion of Time the other day.
There you go. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're definitely a band that I would encourage people, like, put off all distractions. Turn off all distractions is what I'm saying. Put your phone away, or if you're listening on Spotify, put the phone up in the corner so you can't get it.
Yeah.
Get a cup of coffee or a peppermint tea or whatever you have, and sit down and just take it in for the half an hour or so that I think is worthy, is necessary in order to absorb what it is that you're doing, because your songs are long, as you know. And I think
Yes.
you're one of those bands that if you invest time in, there's a lot to get out of it. So there you go.
I do think the albums are, we write them as being made to listen to front to back, like almost like a story. So I agree with what you're saying.
Great journey on every album. Yeah. Long may you continue to do it. So hopefully see you down here in Australia sometime soon, brother.
I would love so. Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate the chat.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Well, there you have it. A chat with Lucas Anderson from the group Funeral Leech, a treat from the underground. I've got a few more up my sleeve like that one to bring to you in the future. All right, if you like that chat, go across to scarsandguitars.com because there are much more over there, especially if you're into Cradle of Filth. I've had many conversations with ex-members of the band, and there's even a tab up the top of the website for ease of perusal. Check it out. Okay, that's it from me. My name is Andrew McKay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until the next one, it's a very goodbye for now.